Bobby Roast Beef here, Jigs and freaking Bigs. It is a weird Monday already. Possible technical difficulties going on. Who even hell knows? We have a crazy show today, guys. Especially in the headlines open, we have some details regarding that boat versus boat fatality situation that happened at a Tackle Warehouse MLF event this past spring. There are some new information has come to light, and it's been a buzz everywhere. We're going to talk about it, have a conversation with some of the jig heads. It's going to be pretty good. We also have some information regarding the winners of the September slot limit series. We're looking forward to that. That's going to be a good one. We also have information regarding the 300th episode. We're going to go over some of the details coming up for that, how things are going to work. We're getting closer and closer and closer to tickets being available. You should see those available by about Halloween, and it should be pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So we have a great show lined up. We're also going to be talking about harvesting and its role in conservation. Trust me, you guys don't want to miss out. We have an awesome show for you. Go ahead and grab yourself something nice and delicious to enjoy, folks. We are getting into it, Jigs and Bigs. We'll be right back right after this. I feel like we've earned it. My goodness. That was bizarre. My mic just completely took a shit here right as we started rolling, and then I just went with it to make it happen. But here we are, Joe. Joe, welcome.
Here we are.
How are you, dude? How's things in your corner of Massachusetts?
Oh, hot. We're getting that shit. What do they call it? That fall, summer, or whatever.
Yeah, it's like summer part 2. Fuck you, here comes winter, pretty much.
Yeah. It was awesome, though. It was such a nice week. What a nice weekend we had this past weekend.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I agree. I did go, I'll talk about it in my week. I did go out, and I was really surprised. Like, this was the year to have a wreck boat. If you have a wake boat or a pontoon or a jet ski, like, you're getting some extra time in here, and pretty much every single variety of douche nozzle was on the water this weekend, and it was great. And unfortunately, my plans conflicted right with theirs, so it is what it is. We'll talk about that later. But I do want to say, like, even last night, like at trivia, I've been over on my Sunday account. I'm over at the Delaney House, which is a fantastic restaurant. If you're in Western Massachusetts and you aren't going out to the Delaney House routinely, like, at least for like your special events or something, you're missing the boat. What a great spot. But there's a patio there that, from what I'm gathering, a lot of folks are not even aware is there, and it's just a vibe. Like, we had such a great time. It was packed last night. Every table except for like 2 were full, and that's including the circles of Adirondack chairs that are around the little fire pits that they have set up. So it was just like, it's a vibe. We had such a good time. It was a blast. But man, here we are. More Jigs and Bigs goodness lined up for you. Why don't we, before we get into our weeks, kind of like shed a little bit of light on the slot limit tournament, because that has been a buzz all around. Like, we have had, go kind of through it by the numbers here and see how it looks. So in total, we had 22 anglers. Right, enter the tournament. It went on last Saturday. It was the 27th was the date that it was on, and it was a blast. It was a tough day of fishing. We didn't even break 300 inches overall. Like, there was a lot of folks that were struggling in the like low hundreds. Myself not being in that group, because I was struggling to like break 20. So there was that. But it was kind of nuts, because at the end we had an angler who had some issues getting his fish submitted. He was basically submitting them incorrectly without the decimal point. And before we go into like the final like details and everything, there were a number of folks that had reached out and said, "Hey, there looks like there's duplicate fish that are entered in this first place spot, or like and basically like calling my attention to it," which I knew just looking at the naked eye that there were obviously double photos. And in fact, just to full transparency, this angler had submitted 17 initial entries. When we discovered that they weren't showing up, I explained to him, "Hey, dude, you've got to use decimal points because they're automatically culling." So he goes, "Well, can I just edit those?" And I was like, "It doesn't work that way." I go, "You're going to have to resubmit them." So he goes and he resubmits, but he resubmitted
25 entries.
So what, 9 more than he initially had submitted. So I had, obviously I knew there was going to be duplicates and things like that. It was a little bit nuts. So we solved all this stuff and worked it all out. But I do want to call it specifically, there was one angler, and I'm not going to call him out on the show, but he did reach out and say that he had questioned the consistency in judging. And even afterwards, he said maybe that was the wrong way to word it. But he goes, he's like, I noticed that this angler had basically entered all of their fish before the grace period ended. And I don't know if there was some confusion or like he thought I was like allowing some like additional like leverage with this one new person coming on, but that is not the case. And they said that, I have had, fish disqualified in the past that were bad measurements. And I explained immediately that these are apples and oranges, that these are completely different situations. The way the slot limit tournament is set up, and this is something that Sean the Fisherman had implemented from the beginning, because we're dealing with a nationwide tournament, there are certain things that we have to kind of assume and allow some facilities for. And primarily what that is allowing people to enter fish if they're fishing an area that has shit cell service. So if they're making the decision to go to a big number spot or something like that, but the area doesn't have quality cell service, yes, it's their responsibility to turn them in, but putting an additional window for entries so that, hey, maybe you get back to the ramp and you unload them there, or maybe it's close to your house and you've got cell service or can connect to Wi-Fi there, and you head back and you enter these in. While it's not our preferred method for people to fish, there are things in place that are going to prevent any type of what I guess like shady entries or anything, because all of the photos have timestamps and all of the photos will have geographic locations lined up and all kinds of stuff. So it's one of these things where, again, we're dealing with apples and oranges, but I explained it to him as best that I could. And I think he understood where I was coming from. But what we're ending up with here, let's talk about the winners. Okay. Now, first and second place came in like painfully close. In third place, John Thompson took it. I didn't have to DQ a single one of his fish at 196 inches for third place. We've got Chad Warholic in second place after a number of disqualifications for the duplicate fish, obviously. He had a couple of bad measurements in there as well. He ended up at 196 3/4 inches. Pretty close. And then our winner is Brody Davis, who came in at 284.5. Kid's an animal, dude. I'm telling you. Now, I think
kid's a hammer, dude.
I got to double check. I don't know if it's the top 3 or top 4, but I do want to mention that fourth place is at 152.5 as Stephen Galloway for fourth place. I will be doing payments probably today and sending all that stuff out, getting everybody all set. But congratulations to our folks that entered. Brody killed it. In fact, it's kind of funny. I think I'm going to see some playback at the 300th show of some bits that have been put together, some content, and Brody inspired one of the big ones, probably one of the weirdest ones, to be honest with you. And it should be pretty good, man.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Has he won the most in the slot tournament?
I'd have to go back and look, but he's among them.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. That's crazy.
I know Brody.
I'm going to talk to his mom, make sure they get out to the 300th.
I want to say he's won maybe 3 or maybe so 4. Crazy. Yeah.
That's so nuts.
It's crazy. I mean, we've had some people, win them back to back. I think John Thompson's won 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. And, I'm going to talk to. I mean, I'll tell her. I mean, I think she understands. We're not kid friendly by any means, but it would be cool to get them.
It would be great to have them there. You know what I mean? It would be a whole lot of fun. Yeah. Speaking of the 300th, man, shit's coming together. I have a list of some. I need to get some specifics of the prize sponsors of what some of these prizes are, but things are coming together. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different brands right now that have confirmed for prize raffle, for prizes for the giveaway, and it's going to be pretty good. I'm still working on trying to get some of these last minute sponsors together, as far as like the supporting sponsors and stuff like that. So if you're listening to this show and there's a company or a brand of maybe they make tackle tackle, or they make some kind of gear, or it could be something that's non-endemic that anglers like jerky or something like that. But by all means, make some suggestions. We'd love to bring in some sponsors, especially of some companies that people aren't necessarily aware of, and we'll put something together and get you guys all set up. Pat Martin says that this is at least his 4th or 5th win. I was thinking he was 3 or 4, but I know for sure it's 3. It's pretty cruise. Brandon chimes in and goes, a 300th event? Yes, Brandon. So the details right now on the 300th event are as follows, okay? We have this event coming up. It's on January the 24th. It's going to run most likely like a 7 to 10 o'clock or a 7 to 11 o'clock window, something like that. The way we're going to do this is all going to happen at the Thomas Sullivan Banquet Hall. This is at Nathan Bill's Bar and Grill, which is one of my trivia accounts. It's right in Springfield. And the reason why we like it is because there's plenty of parking. The menu is absolutely nuts. The staff is fantastic. And the room is perfect for what we do. And a little history of the room, we did the 100th episode there. And it was absolutely sort of I think it was kind of like the flagship event. Like that was what we've always been trying to recreate. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're going back to exactly what worked really, really well before. And it's going to be an absolute blast. So the difference here is that this will be a live in-person event. And there will be a benefit to being there live in person because we also have a door prize that one of the in-person guests is going to win. But what we're doing different here is we're putting this as a live stream as well, because we're going to record the show there, obviously, Joe, right? And it's going to be a good time, and we're going to have the folks that will be able to see that on the live stream win prizes, because there will be tickets available for the live stream. Like you'll get access to that purchasing a ticket for the live stream. So it's going to be pretty good. Brandon says your boy's going to have time off. Dude, absolutely, man. You should absolutely come up. The beautiful city of Springfield. And actually, where you're coming from, it is not that far. It's 3 or 4 hours out. I am putting together a list of spots. And in fact, we have some connections in the hotel business, and I want to reach out and see if we can put together like a location, or if they can make a suggestion of a spot that is real nearby and central. And I'm going to actually put out an itinerary of stuff that people can do in the area that's of interest. That's not just getting murdered. We'll try and avoid that as much as possible.
I mean, we have the casino.
Yeah, there's the casino. There's plenty of stuff to be done there. If you wanted to take your time and go to the Basketball Hall of Fame, you 100% could go and do that too. Knock that
right
out
down the road.
Day. Yeah, it's literally right there. If you, I don't. Who knows what the weather's going to be like, obviously, but there is fishing potential to be had as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can always hit the Connecticut. I mean, you might. I don't know.
I am thinking about doing like a pitching, flipping cornhole game.
So, it's funny. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember
the open house, right?
We had that party at Old Glory?
Yeah.
And we did awesome. The pitching contest.
I'm thinking about it. It might be fun. Like I've got, could be a good time.
I think it would be a blast.
I was
thinking, you know what else is crazy about the 300th versus the 100th?
What's that?
I was not a host then.
You were not a host back then. Yeah, absolutely.
I had the Old Glory table there.
And that was fucking amazing. Oh, and that was another thing that I want to mention was I was talking with Matt Thayer from Klondike Custom Creations, and he hit me up. He is one of the prize sponsors. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Are you doing tables again for any vendors?" And I was like, I want to, I really do, but I just don't want it to be a situation where like if we sell enough tickets where we have a problem. I think what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to limit it to like 2 or 3 tables, like not full anything. Like I considered reaching out to some like tackle shops and stuff and setting up stuff right there. But I'm like, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set them up in the room. But if we have enough tickets sold in advance where I know that we're going to need every possible inch of that space for actual seating, then I think I'm going to, there's this little hallway that connects out. I think I'm going to make that like a little bit of a plaza, like where there will be a couple of vendor tables, 2 or 3 vendor tables where people can check that stuff out right there. It'll be really good. No gummies for Josh. The gummies will be back. That is the only thing I'm taking from the 200th episode, from the 200th episode and rolling into this.
So Ben, you don't forget, he slept at my house that night. It was pretty entertaining.
I did talk with Zek about coming up. And I was like, I go, you guys obviously don't need to, because we're going to be live streaming it. Like, you'll be a part of it all together. Yeah. But there's got to be, we do have to figure out a time to do like a little bit of a practice run of this, so that, I can get the hang of using the video switcher and everything. There's going to be stuff that just makes it crazy, but it's going to be good. Brandon says, I need dispensary locations. I got you, homie. Don't you worry.
Dude, there's one on every corner in Massachusetts.
You got it. You got it made. You can get yourself some good stuff. In fact, if you want to take a ride up to, I'm not sure where in Springfield they have this one brand, but there's a brand of edible that I like a lot called Treeworks, and they're all live rosin. They're really fantastic. Little side note, I'm working on trying to get them to be the centerpiece sponsor. That's what I'm trying to do. I'll see if I can work my magic there. They also have a very cool outdoors like branding vibe about them. Like they're very cool. But what I like about their gummies is that they're 10 milligrammers, but they perforate them so you can tear them apart into 2 pieces, nice and easy. No extra tools. You can share them, 5 milligrams a pop. Bobby, if you have the stuff to practice, we could do a mini live this weekend. I don't have the stuff to practice. That's actually stuff that I have to source in. Plus, we have a lot going on this weekend, Binya. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So the 300th
I'm going to tell you right now, you guys are going to have very litlittle time off the water once you go there and realize how that fishery is. You're not going to want to get off.
I have a very, very strong feeling. So, 300th episode is going to be really great. Tickets will be announced, like where you can get them, probably. Like I'm thinking about Halloween, something like that, maybe the first week of November, and they'll be available. I do this all the time. I want tickets available to you guys in advance to be able to plan and get your tickets. But at the same time, I know most of you guys aren't going to buy them until like 5 days beforehand. So, it is what it is. But they will be announced very, very shortly. It's going to be a good time. I'm very excited. And then right after that weekend is the Columbus Fishing Expo. So I'm going to be busy that weekend, and then the following weekend heading out. I'm telling you, if all goes as planned, winter should go by like that. I hope. That's my goal.
Let's hope.
That's freaking hope. Let's talk about our weeks. Yeah. Mine was not tremendously fishy, but it was slightly fishy. Go ahead, Joe, and we'll dive into what you had going on this week.
Well, mine wasn't fishy at all. I'm just going to go ahead and get that out there. But
there was a big week though.
I got my phalange fixed.
Yeah, you did.
Got my phalange fixed, my thumb fixed. So that was good. So it turns out that ligament was torn all the way through. It wasn't just a partial. So that bitch was just in there like flopping around.
Oh God, that sucks.
Yeah.
Does that make sense anything?
As to why my brain was telling it to move, but it wouldn't do it. So it kind of makes sense now.
Yeah. Does it change like the healing or what they had to do at all?
It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like because it was originally said it was a high grade tear where it was almost torn all the way through. It's pretty much the same. They did reattach my normal ligament and then put a synthetic ligament on it, like over it, and they anchored it in with 2 screws.
Almost like a patch.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got a couple screws in there now, some synthetic fucking ligament, but yeah, dude, it wasn't bad. It's sore. It's like it's more achy than anything. It's like it's just a wicked pain in the ass. But healing's good. I didn't touch any like the pain meds or anything like that. Just the Tylenol and Motrin.
Yeah.
But I'm allergic to all the like the fun stuff. So they like get so fun. So I'm in the hospital bed, right? And I just come out of anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, okay. And they're like, and I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Like, let's rock and roll. Like, get me out.
Yeah.
Like, get me home. And she's like, oh, and they were great there. The nurses and doc were awesome. And she's like, okay. She's like, all right. Are you good to get dressed? I was like, I'm fine. Like, I will get dressed. She's like, you have to, like, I can't let you go unless you eat something. And I was like, perfect. I was like, go grab me something. I was like, I got to pee too. Like, let's rock and roll.
We'll get the show on the road.
And, so I get dressed and, the IV and still, she's like, all right, I'm just going to give you something for the ride. And obviously I'm still like loopy from like the anesthesia. She's like, all right, I'm just going to give you something for the ride. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. And she like gives me something and I'm like, hey, just out of curiosity, like, what'd you give me? She's like, oh, fentanyl. I was like, oh my God. I was like, Jesus, lady. I was like, okay. And so I'm like, and I don't do pain meds typically. Like I don't ever take
I try
them.
to stay away.
So dude, so bad. I get, I get down to the car, Meg's there and everything, and we're riding home. I'm just like chatty Cathy, coming out of anesthesia. And then all of a sudden, dude, I just felt like I was gonna throw up. Like I got so nauseous all of a sudden. And I was like I was talking, Meg's like, you were talking and then you just weren't. And then you just like put the seat back and you rolled the window down. And I was like, I'm gonna throw up. But I didn't. But
that's the worst feeling.
Yeah. Yep. But I got home, just been recovering. Sleeping sucks because I keep like rolling and I'm just like, ow, like it'll like move.
Yeah.
But I have my follow-up on what's today, Monday? I have my follow-up on Wednesday. And they're taking this stupid thing off finally. I hate this fucking thing.
That looks like it's cumbersome as shit.
Oh, it is, dude. It's such a pain in the ass. And I get this like they're making me like this like custom like formed like thing that I can take on and off, thank God. But yeah, so that was my week. I'm a sad panda because I want to fish so fucking bad. I have a 6-figure boat sitting in the fucking driveway that's just collecting leaves right now. And I'm not going to put it away yet. I'm hoping there's a chance that I'll be able to get out at least once or twice, after I start to do the occupational therapy and all that crap. But Meg's like, oh, you're gonna like get it ready to put it away. I'm like, nope, sure I'm not. And so yeah, other than that, dude, it was just kind of a week. I've been so stir crazy. Like I'm not good at like just like sitting around. And so like it was like the day after, dude, I'm like, oh no, I'll go pick up Emma from the bus stop and stuff. Sure. Meg's like, Jesus, will you stop? And I did, driving with one hand. But we went to so this weekend, dude, we had a pretty busy weekend, like because it was so nice out, you couldn't stay in the house. So like was it Saturday? We went to Oakhome Brewery.
Yep.
Here in Brookfield, and they had, I'm sure you've heard of the band, what are they called? Trailer Trash.
Oh, I know Trailer Trash. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were playing there. They actually have like a pretty good following. It was kind of nuts.
They really do.
A ton of people there. So yeah, I met my sister there. I saw a couple friends and, had a few drinks and just watched them, their whole set. It was a good time. I mean, we had Emma. She was loving it. They're playing music she likes.
That's awesome. Perfect.
And then yesterday, it was kind of the same thing. It was like noontime. I was like, Meg, I want to get out of the house. So we packed the dogs up.
Yep.
Which, because we're trying to get them, like we bring them around. We bring them places quite a bit, but we don't expose them to like the public a lot, which we need to do. Well, with our plan to start traveling here next year. Yeah. We're like, all right, we got to start exposing them.
Yeah.
So we packed them up. We brought them to Timber Yard, another brewery.
Yep.
Because they're dog friendly, and dude, they did awesome. There's a bunch of dogs there.
That's awesome.
They just chilled. It's funny because like I actually put a TikTok up about it, but Draco, my male, he comes from like a show line, dude. He's so like chill, like he just, anywhere we go, he just sleeps. Whereas like, Ice, the female, comes from like she comes from Germany from a working line. And dude, she's just like, every time she's just like shaking, dude. Like she doesn't bark, nothing like that, but she's just like so alert all the time.
Ready to go.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's so different. Like I did a video of like him just sleeping and her just like, constantly looking around. But no, they did awesome. We were happy. So we got to start doing that more. And other than that, man, that was pretty much it for my weekend. I was just, I've just been stir crazy this week and just ready to be healed, ready to get my thumb back and be ready to get back out on the water.
No, I hear that, dude. You know what you should do is take this opportunity and create some content with that injury. Like maybe do like a parody video. Like I'll come by with my drone and we'll get a shot of you like laying on the boat with like leaves falling over you, like American Beauty. It'd just be like that. Like you could like hold a rod and like try to reel it, like shit like that. like a little trailer. Like take advantage of it as much as you can. My week was a little bit nuts. I had there was one thing that was it last weekend? Yeah, it was the weekend of the tournament. So when I was coming back from after I had met up with that group of guys for that wing event, that chicken wing event, I was on my way home. When I backed the boat in, I noticed something. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this on the show, but when I installed my console electronics, I wasn't 100% on like where I wanted on the console, because the nice thing about Lund is the consoles are now flat. And I didn't know this, but I talked to Matt, and the underside of that is just a panel of aluminum. So you can take like a self-tapping screw and just like zip right in. And it's like it's very flexible with where you could mount your electronics and what you want to do. And I was debating getting like a RAM mount to elevate it a little bit and like have it be mobile if I wanted and everything else. And I reached out to him. Well, let's back up a little bit. I get home from that event and I'm backing the boat in. And I go back in and I'm taking it off the trailer, or taking the trailer off the truck. And I look over and my electronics was in the spot that I initially wanted, but it was held down with like 3M strips. Command strips, and it had taken a bit of a flight during the drive back. I saw it in place. It was definitely on the drive back, the short drive from Westfield over to Holyoke. So it didn't really go anywhere. It actually had landed on my seat, thank God, but it was still connected with the wires. So I was like, that's all good. So I was like, this has to change. I have to install this permanently. I've been dealing with it for the past couple of weeks where it is. I haven't changed the spot. I really like it. So that was definitely one of the things that I wanted to get done this week, because I have some trips coming up and I want to make sure that these boxes are checked, everything else. So I got that done, and I started putting together some content, recording some B-roll for a video that's upcoming on my YouTube channel, which is a sort of my favorite boat mods. Like a year after owning the boat, what have I done to it? What's changed? All that kind of stuff. And there's actually quite a bit that I had gone through, like from like what I had done for rod holders, what I had done for electronics, obviously, the trailer modifications with the steps. What else is in there? I know I'm forgetting some stuff for sure. The trolling motor modification that I had done, that's not an actual stock Minn Kota power drive trolling motor. I modified that. So there's things that I have done in there, and I didn't want to, but I kind of put together the dollar amount of what I've invested into the boat beyond the price of the boat and, basically my loan. It's not as bad as one might think. It really, really isn't. It's not that bad. But, what's nice is it's very, very, very custom. So that's good. So, again, mentioning content, this week for me was coming out of the last bit of that first trimester of that 90-day YouTube challenge that I'm doing. Now we're into like the most difficult section, which is called like sprint mode. So now I've got to upload 2 videos a week for the next 4 to 5 weeks. That's the idea. I'm basically doubling what I would generally put out there. So I did drop 2 videos this week. I did one last Wednesday. I did one just on Sunday. And the earlier one is one where I went smallmouth fishing in Vermont with a boat that ended up being broken. Busted some stuff. Some of you guys already know the deals, but that got posted, and it's actually been doing really, really well. And then the one I posted yesterday is doing pretty much on the same pace, but this is one that's going over the September slot tournament, talking about some of the difficulties at the end of that, the struggle that day on the water, all that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, the boat breakdown, that's going to be dropping, I think, on like Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe Thursday at the latest, but it'll be there for you guys to check out. So I am just freaking, I'm editing, I'm scripting, I'm doing it all, and I'm applying a few things production-wise that I haven't done before. And one of the things that you're going to notice is that my videos are a little bit shorter than they have. I've been trying to get to the point more. I don't know if you guys are aware of this listening to Jigs and Bigs, but your boy Bobby Roast Beef can be a little, what's the word they say?
Long-winded.
Sometimes it takes me a bit to get to the actual meat of the story because I don't want to leave anything out. So I've been shaving off, like, typically my videos have been landing about like 24, 25 minutes, and I've been getting them under 20, like 17 or 18 for the most part. So it's a little bit more digestible. A couple of production editing tricks that I had done some research with that look pretty freaking slick. And I don't know, I hope you guys like it. So that's coming up. And then, of course, I'm planning now for St. Lawrence. Like last week, Benny and I kind of finalized some plans. So we're staying over at the Ship Motel, right, over at Chris and Christina's property, the Ship Motel over there. And Joe, I know you said that there is a launch that you recommend that's right near there. I'm going to need the coordinates for that puppy. I think Binya and I are going to meet there, fish until we go check in at the motel, and then we'll probably grab some food, have the rest of that night. I'm thinking about picking up an external hard drive so I can just move content to it at night and then free up as many SD cards as possible. Because I'll get about an 8-hour day, on one SD card. But if I have to make a change, I want to be prepared for it and ready to go. So I'm going to probably put that in order. And it's been pretty good. So the plan is to leave here super early on Friday, drive up, fish all day, and then check in. We'll probably, grab dinner. And then my goal is to create at least 2 different videos out of the trip. One being a travel vlog of the whole thing. The other one being a more of like a challenge video. I have something in mind that involves something called the
Alabama hot bag.
You guys go ahead and Google that, but we're going to make an Alabama hot bag, and one of us is going to have to consume it. The loser. That's the plan. I don't know how this is going to go. It'll be interesting. So let's get to the fishy shit. This week, what did your boy do? What did Bobby Roast Beef do? I managed to get out on the water. I actually had tried, I managed to get out on the water twice. I went out on Thursday with my buddy Jim, and we went over to, I was like, hey man, I'm bringing Eleanor. Why don't you just meet me over the Swift River? We'll do some trout fishing. So we go out, bunch of inline spinners, whole bunch of other stuff. I couldn't catch a damn thing on an inline spinner. Like nothing. Jimmy put the first fish in the boat. It was a good-sized chain pickerel on a tiny 1/8 ounce rooster tail. He was fishing this on my 7.3 medium light arc Cobb series, the Fairy Wand. And I don't tell him it's called the Fairy Wand because I don't think that Jimmy is secure enough to be okay with that. It is what it is. So I go and I'm trying a few different things, and man, the water was busy as hell. So many guide boats all over the place with people with clients and stuff. And we're just kind of, checking some stuff out. I was also actually scouting because there's a video idea that I have, and I want to make sure I'm not trespassing for a portion of this. So I just wanted to make sure that this area I was going to was not private property and kind of like figure it out before I go and I send it. And I think actually I should be pretty good. This is a combination fishing. It's a catch and cook video. That's what it is. Catch and cook video, but with a very specific recipe. I think is going to be great. So, I go out and, dude, these trout were so active. I know that they had recently stocked rainbows up there, and these fish were all over the place, like just all over the place, following all my baits. I ended up catching a bunch of them on actually a finesse swim bait, not trout. That's what I was targeting. They would follow it, but they weren't committing to it. I caught more bass in that fucking river, like decent ones too, like 14 plus. And I was like, no shit. And they were fat and they were healthy. I was like, this is great. I caught a couple of slime darts too. One of them was probably about 6 to 8 inches in that window, super tiny, like where I could just grab them with my whole hand, grab that hook and go like, you get the hell out of here, and just toss them right back. And it was overall, it was really good. We had a good time. Called that one pretty early. I like going there because I can pick that place apart pretty good in 3 to 4 hours and do really, really well with it. So I'm like, that's good. That's cool. It's a nice for a shorter day. I hit the road with Eleanor. One thing that was exciting, Eleanor for the first time saw a black bear.
Okay.
And it wasn't from the boat. This is from the truck. We were driving toward the launch, and as we're on our way there, and we're in it pretty good, but there's plenty of people that live around in that area, and this bear had to go 2 225. Good sized black bear on one side of the road, on the left-hand side of the road. I stop and I pick up Eleanor. I was like, Eleanor, look. And I look and she's just like, I mean, she's so derpy. She probably didn't even realize it was there, but she's like, whatever. This bear goes and saunters across the road into the woods and takes off. I pull into the parking lot for the launch. I pull up. There's fucking trailers everywhere. Again, like guides with clients, because the weather is so nice, you know?
Right.
And I tell Jimmy first thing, I was like, hey man, we just saw a big black bear just run into the woods over here. He goes, I'm gonna go sit in my car until you're ready to drop the boat in the water. And then let me know. I was like, all right, sounds good. He is, and I mean, when it comes to bears, I'm not like, oh, let's go pet it. You know what I mean? Not at all, obviously. Like, these are large predators. But at the same time, like, I do realize that they are going to run off more often than not once they come into contact with humans. So, yeah, it was kind of funny. I splashed him in the water. We went and fished all day. It was fun. We had a good time, came back. And then on Friday is when I got a lot of stuff done and prepped for the week. Now, I wanted to go up to a body of water on Saturday that I have just freaking fallen in love with this year. It's up in New Hampshire. The ramp is hot garbage. The ramp is like one of these things where the ramp comes down and it's just a big, shallow flat for such a long way out. And with the water as low as it was, I had to go so far in, I couldn't get the boat off the trailer. I could have done it if I had somebody else with me. You know what I mean? Because I could have loosened everything off the boat and like put them in with a little bit more force, and they would have come off. It wouldn't have been a problem. Getting the boat back on wouldn't have been a problem. It wouldn't have been a problem. Getting it off the trailer was like, it just wasn't going to happen. So I was pissed. I got up at like 5:15. I left the house nice and early. I drove all the way up there knowing I wasn't going to get that first light. I wasn't really so much concerned about that. I enjoyed the drive up. It was really great. Saw a bunch of deer on the way up. Like, it was just beautiful, taking it all in. And I was listening to a playlist on Spotify. We're going to get into detail about this. And this playlist is called Peepaw's Coochie Tunes.
Oh, Jesus.
And it is all late 80s and 90s country. And I'm like, it just hits. It hits so good. And there's some production. I'm trying to create something that I will unveil, hopefully, at the 300th episode as a little bit of a warm-up. So I'm like, it's a vibe, you know? And I'm going up into New Hampshire. Everything's cool. I get there. I can't launch. I'm like, you motherfucker. So I went to Jeremiah's favorite spot. It's what I did. Right under the French King Bridge. I just got over the bridge, drove the truck right over the side, leapt out of the truck, jumped in the boat, and we were good to go. It was amazing. No. I went to Barton's Cove, obviously. Yep. Dude, this is my first time taking my boat over there. That area right by the launch is scary. How, like, shallow it gets, and it's just all weeds.
Yeah, you got to fall. That's where like mapping comes in, because it's like,
I'm glad
it shows
you brought
you
that
exactly up. The lane you have to take.
So I got to tell you, I was under the suspicion that I had like a set of mapping on my Lowrance that's on my console now. I don't have any contour lines for like anywhere on the Connecticut River, like anywhere.
Gotcha.
I'm not seeing it whatsoever. And I believe I could go and like create my own, but it would be great to start. I just didn't want to go and buy like a CMAP chip or whatever if I didn't need it already, you know? And I think I'm going to take that leap and figure it out. What's your choice? Navionics versus CMAP. Do you have a preference?
Lake Master.
Lake Master,
but that's a Humminbird product.
So it might not
specifically.
It might. Yeah. That's the issue that I run into.
Yeah, it's superior to like any like. I love it, but Navionics is good. Navionics is good.
I looked into Navionics, and then I was like, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to buy the North American package, whatever it is, like all of it, because I'm trying to travel as much as I can. Now there are bodies of water that have gone on my unit. Like I looked at the St. Lawrence just to see in that area, that Alexandria Bay area, what it looked like. And that map shows a whole lot more detail than it does in the Connecticut River. But and I'm like, I'm just not sure what the hell it is that I've got. So there's no chip in there. Like there's no chip already in there. So I'm going to I have plenty of media, so I'm going to download something and throw something in there and figure it out. But I was really surprised by that. So I get out to where things kind of open up. And like when I say that there's deep water there, guys, when I'm in this area, there's like 90-foot holes I found. Like ridiculous. And this is with the water low, very low. Yeah. So I go, and once things kind of open up, it's nice because you can go full tilt. You're good to go. Man, every single pleasure boater in the world was out there. Granted, because the weather was amazing, and I totally understand that, but it made things kind of, interesting. So I decided I was going to fish. My goal was to do this boat mods video. So I recorded a few clips as I was fishing. And as I recorded these clips, we had much more wind than we did anywhere else in the day. And I was throwing around a minigun, and I had a couple of taps on the way in from fish that were like right up near the surface, and I could see these were quality smallies. And I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. Well, as I'm done with these clips, I work my way over to the bridge and I go back over to kind of try a different bait and work that same area because there are fish there. I go back around and the wind just died. Like just straight up died. And I went from being able to get them really moving to having to like crawl a swim bait either on the bottom or throw like the juvie crawl around rocks or like a small compact jig like that. What I caught most of them on was a drop shot. And it was crazy multi-species too, because I got a couple of good rock bass in there and there's one just massive bluegill, like absolutely enormous. As I was just going to go flip him into the boat, he came off the hook, which is no good. So he's not in that video. I do have the look on my face though captured that I think I'm going to save for a blooper reel because it's priceless. So I get out there and I fish and I was like, all right, so I checked all the boxes that I wanted. I wasn't finding any real quality necessarily. So I was like, let's go, we'll head back in. And I make my way back in. I tie my boat off to the dock and I walk back to the truck. And this is where I discovered something that has me a little bit concerned. So I go over and as I'm walking and I'm approaching the trailer, one of the bunks looks as if it's like sagging. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, it just looks a little bit off. So I go over and I'm like, I climb right in between them, right? And one of them is absolutely rigid. You know what I mean? Like it feels secure and firm. The other one feels like there's a crack in it, like it's bowing a little bit and it's just giving like that. I don't love that. I also am thinking in my mind, and I'm not a professional, but I'm like, it's on the trailer and it's secured and tied down. I go, it should be fine. I think if I'm going to have any issues, it's going to be with the boat being off or during loading and unloading. So my goal is I'm going to fix this. Obviously, it's not going to happen before St. Lawrence, and I'm just going to have to baby it on the drive up, which is the primary reason why I want to be able to leave as early as I can so that one, there's nobody on the roads primarily, and secondly, I have more time to get up there and I can take it slower, versus trying to burn it back. So I don't know. I reached out to Matt over at Hank's, of course, because Hank's, that's where I purchased the boat, and then they're never steered me wrong before. He actually I think may have been confused and thought maybe like the bolts were just loose or something like that. But I when I checked it, I specifically checked. No, it feels like it's in the middle of the bunk, like that's where the flex is right there. And with the boat being on it, it's putting pressure on the entire thing. It's an even amount of pressure. So I don't think that this should I don't think it should let go, while it's in there. I think the issue might be after I unload it or something like that. So I think my plan is I'm just going to replace both bunks. I'm going to upgrade them, Okay. Take it as an opportunity to upgrade it. The other thing I'm debating is, my initial plan was going to be before spring next year, wheels and tires. Replace those, make this trailer a little bit more roadworthy for these longer trips. Because this is a small load-right trailer. It's nothing huge. These wheels are tiny. And I want to make sure that like when I'm doing these trips, like I'm talking with Nick about doing a Canadian trip, like these are miles. And I want to make sure that things are good. So we'll go ahead and we'll figure all that out. But yeah, I'm sending it. I'm going to baby it on the way up, I also have not been nice to this trailer as far as like some of the places I've fished have been like going down like forestry roads.
Yeah.
Shit like that, where it's like some of it's and I do it slowly, but there's movement. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure what happened. For all I know, like it's amazing. You park your trailer in a parking spot at a boat launch and anything can happen. You know, sometimes it's not even a parking spot. You just park like where you can. I had somebody that very obviously had clipped one of my lights and just like bumped it enough to loosen it up where it just slides right out of place now. So I'm like, I got to figure out how to bend that back, get that fixed. And then for all I know, somebody could have been jumping up and down on the bunks and cracked it. You know, I have no idea. Right. Absolutely no idea. I don't think it would have happened while it was loading, but crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. We got some headlines to talk about. We got a significant set of headlines to go over here.
We do.
This is where this show is going to get a little bit heavy. Let's go ahead and do it.
All right. So we all remember the accident that happened in the beginning of spring up on Smith Lake with that MLF event. It was the Tackle Warehouse MLF event. Had to do with Flint Davis, that accident that happened where he crashed into a center console guide boat, essentially. And some new stuff came down from that, some new developments, and a video of the incident, which I had no idea that there is a video of it, came to light, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do the headline first, and then we'll talk about it. So this one here comes from Wired to Fish. Pro angler Flint Davis indicted for Smith Lake crash during MLF tournament. A professional bass fisherman has been indicted on 3 counts of manslaughter following a devastating boat crash that occurred during a Major League Fishing tournament on April 16th at Lewis Smith Lake. The collision claimed the lives of 3 men and injured 2 others. According to court documents and multiple reports, 22-year-old Flint Davis of Leesburg, Georgia, was operating a nitro bass boat at approximately 67 miles per hour when it struck a center console vessel around 7 a.m. during day 2 of the MLF Tackle Warehouse Invitational. The impact resulted in the deaths of Joey Broom and of Altoona, John Clark of Coleman, and Jeffrey Little of Brandon, Mississippi. Davis, the sole occupant of his vessel, was also injured in the crash and transported to Coleman Regional Hospital for treatment. Authorities confirmed that Clark and Little were thrown overboard by the collision and drowned. Broom was reportedly struck directly by Davis's boat and was pronounced dead at the scene. 2 other occupants of the center console, Gary Holcomb of Coleman and Luke Morgan of Albertville, survived the crash but sustained serious injuries. They were treated at UAB Hospital as well. On October 4th, the Coleman County District Attorney's Office announced that Davis had been indicted by a grand jury on 3 counts of manslaughter and 2 counts of assault. He also faces charges of reckless operation of a vessel, failure to follow boating rules of the road, and boating without a boater safety certification. There are rules of the road when it comes to water, just like there is on the highway, said Coleman County District Attorney Champ Crocker during a press conference. And we want the public to understand and follow these rules and appreciate the dangers of not doing so. Investigators emphasized that neither weather nor alcohol were contributing factors in the crash. The weather was not a factor. Other vessel traffic was not a factor, confirmed Chief Matt Brooks with the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency. Davis's bond was set at $115,000. The tragedy has sparked both criminal and civil litigation. Attorney Hunter Garnett, representing the family of Joey Broom, has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Davis. Garnett described the indictment as the first big step for the family seeking justice. Jeffrey Little's family has also filed a separate wrongful death lawsuit against Davis. When it comes to Major League Fishing, the organization confirmed Davis's involvement in the crash shortly after the incident, but withheld further comment pending the investigation. This is a heartbreaking moment for our entire organization, said Kathy Fennell, MLF Executive Vice President. Our deepest condolences go out to the families and friends of those affected by this tragedy. MLF has since said is cooperating fully with law enforcement, is awaiting the outcome of legal proceedings. No further disciplinary actions against Davis have been publicly announced by the organization. The tragic video that was released that we talked about. So like I said, Bobby, I didn't know. I don't know if you knew there was a video, because I sure as shit did not know that there was a video.
And so many people sent it. And
same. And it was obviously just released. And this is based. So this video, for those of you listening, I'm not going to show it here or anything like that. But it was another angler that had a GoPro going on the back of his boat and he just caught a fish. And this happened probably 300-400 yards beyond him. And you could see it in the background in his reaction. But continuing, as part of the ongoing investigation, the Coleman County District Attorney's Office released video footage showing the moments leading up to the crash, though has not been made widely available to the public. The footage reportedly supports the prosecution's claims regarding speed and failure to follow boater safety rules. And Wired to Fish was not going to link the video as well.
No.
But while the indictment marks a major development, the case is still unfolding. Prosecutors have indicated that further charges could be possible depending on the outcome of civil lawsuits and additional forensic findings. So let's unpack this a little bit. We're going to put our detective hats on here for a second at Jigs and Bigs. And I don't know if you remember, Bobby, but a couple of the rumors, when this incident happened, I believe I talked about them when we announced when we covered this story back in April, that they were saying that fog was a factor.
Yep.
They're saying that was a reason. They also said that, the guide boat was kind of tucked behind a cove, and Davis may have hit it when he was coming around. Spot. Yep, when he was coming around like the peninsula. I'm going to tell you guys right now, that got put to rest. In the video. It is bright. It is sunny. There is zero fog. And they were in the middle of the water body, and Flint Davis is just going in a straight line and just smokes them.
Totally didn't even see him.
Yep. So my guess is he had his face down on his graphs, and it's super unfortunate for all involved, especially the three that lost their lives. But Flint Davis has to understand that sometimes everyone makes mistakes. Sometimes mistakes have bigger consequences than others.
Yep.
And this is obviously a huge consequence. Flint Davis is most likely going to see jail time for this.
Yep.
With 3 counts of manslaughter. And that's super unfortunate. He was out there doing something he loved, and so was so were the others in the boat that he hit. But he was negligent. When it comes down to it, he was being negligent. And, when incidents happen under negligent actions, there's always prices to pay. So unfortunately, he's going to have to do that. And again, it's unfortunate for everyone. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's just wild, dude, because the thing is that like this video, it does. Everybody always says all the time, you got to watch what you're doing right now, because there's always a camera these days. Like, we live in a time where there is always a camera. And as soon as I saw the perspective of this video, the first thing I thought was, I've got a camera that does exactly that. You know how many other people I know with the same thing that are just recording their content, doing whatever it is that they're doing. So if something does happen, it's like dash cams on cars right now. So many cars have them. So it's like, there was just something else that was mentioned in that in the press conference. There was the video. There was a YouTube video of the press conference that had come down, and there was the issue of a boaters safety course. And I don't know for what state or what it is, but and it had come into, I know that, you had reported not that long ago, actually, about suits that were filed against, including Major League Fishing and Boyd Duckett specifically. And something tells me that in the paperwork here, like, there is something that is going to say something to, there is an affidavit that will basically say, I am following all of the required, all the state requirements for the area where I'm fishing or something like that. So that in and of itself might clear the organization MLF and Duckett from any of this stuff because they're hands off here. This was like driver responsibility of the boat at that time. And it's unfortunate that it happened this way, but I think you nailed it. Like there's consequences that need to be paid,
Yeah, obviously it's unfortunate. And, this is a professional, when it comes down to it, this is a professional sporting event.
Yep.
Where it differentiates from other sporting events is it's not in a closed arena.
Yes.
It's not in a closed
It's in a
course.
public area. Yeah, you're right.
This is done in public areas. And the ideal situation would be, okay, there's this tournament going on. It is not fishable or usable for this amount of time, which just is not realistic. Yeah. It's not feasible. It's not fair. But it is the ideal situation that I don't think we'll ever see. The only thing that maybe MLF or BASS could ever do is, fork out the money to shut down each and every boat ramp on that body of water.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you still have the residents, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it closed. What people don't understand is a ton of people launch their bass boats just to mosey around and watch the fishermen. So then you're taking away the little bit of spectatorism of professional bass fishing. So when it comes down to it, it's, yes, I think there are. Listen, I fish tournaments. I've fished a few big tournaments, and you just put that fucking gas right to the floor, and you just go, and you don't think about. I've done boater safety, but you don't. I look at the rules and regulations. You don't, but it's just like you just go. I mean, like Bobby, you've been in the boat with me when we were just. I mean, by definitely breaking rules on the Connecticut River, bombing back, but trying to make it back in time for weigh-in. But outside, it's basically in the end, the only thing they really can do is put the liability on the angler and understand that if you act like a knucklehead, there's the consequences are going to fall on you, and it's not going to just be with the event organizer. It's going to be legal repercussions as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. And I mean, it's unfortunate that it's got to be that way. But I think that as an angler, like you've got to be, as a tournament angler, you've got to be a steward for not only like conservation of the resource and for the fish themselves, but also for like the entire organization, because you're representing so much more as a tournament angler. You're representing the organization that you're competing in. You're representing the crowds or the public's interpretation of what it means to be a tournament angler, and there's a little bit of responsibility that goes with that I think is a little bit crazy. But
yeah, I mean, I guess one thing they could probably do is hire conservation officers or whatever there is for that state or that county or that town or city to have boats out there and monitoring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As like a detail.
That's a good point, because most bodies of water do have some type of speed restriction. That, if I'll be honest with you, like they do kind of a shit job of informing people of what that is. It's like, you'll see it at the launch if you take the time to read everything. But beyond that, like there's no like reminder of like, hey, there's a speed situation. So, and I know it's going to come down to like, oh, money or whatever. But it's like when we're talking about people's lives being at risk for utilizing, of the natural resources that they've got access to, public access to, it makes it a little bit more of a good reason to drop that coin. And maybe it means like the automated stuff. Remember, we talked about, was it the butcher that got a ticket from an automated radar system on a boat? You know what I mean? Yeah. Something like that might not be the worst thing ever to put something together, like a buoy that floats and takes account of, I don't know, It's just why, and it's crazy. But yeah, that video got released. I don't think there was a single person that regularly speaks with Jigs and Bigs via DM on Instagram or Facebook that didn't send me a version of that. Like, you've got to see this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts, man. And I think Todd nails it. He's like, boaters, snowmobile, hunters, all safety. Yep. You know, that's nuts. And we actually, it's funny, like, I mean, I'm just tagging on this basically because of the relation, what it has to do with safety. I just shared a story recently where there was, I forget who posted it initially, but it was basically somebody was getting some shit for wearing their PFD in their kayak. And they're like, oh yeah, well, you don't need a PFD here. It's only like 3 or 4 feet deep or something to that effect. And it's just like, listen, like, safety isn't like, it's not a bitch move to want to get up in the morning. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what it gets down to. Like, and that's, if there's a toxic thing about like fishing, and especially competitive fishing, it's this fucking dick measuring contest that's going on. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, how about if you want to make, if you love fishing that much, you want to make it your career and you want to make it the rest of your life, your livelihood potentially, or that's just the choice you're making. Like, make sure that you can do it, next year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, make sure you're going to be around to be able to do this again later down the road. Don't be a fucking idiot.
Yep.
God,
that's what it comes down to.
It really, really does. That's bananas, dude. Shit.
Unfortunate.
I'm going to tell you guys, I'm glad actually that Joe had so much information for this, because as we were recording, I got a notification that we have another call for the live well that came in. So I was editing that while this was going on. See, this is like breaking fucking news for you guys.
Breaking news.
Jigs and Bigs is on this shit. So we just added another call to the live well. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a short break, guys. But when we get back, we have some stuff to talk about. We're talking about that relationship of harvesting fish and conservation. Like, what does that do for the fish population, and how can you kind of use some tips to kind of make a decision on what you're going to harvest and what you're going to release? It's just, I feel like it's something that people are talking about, but I really don't think people are necessarily understanding, and I'm going to try to put it in some terms so you guys can figure it all out. We'll be back with more Jigs and Bigs coming up right after this. Do not go too far.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Yeah. We're getting into it, guys. Let's talk about it. So a lot of folks specifically, I'm using the bass fishing niche as the example here, but a lot of folks that fish for bass are avid believers in catch and release. In fact, sometimes it's a little bit too much. They catch and release everything without actually understanding the biology behind it. I've heard from folks in the past when this topic has come up where they're like,
I feel like the largemouth bass is like the national fish of America. Like, it's like the American eagle, and you don't harvest the American eagle.
That's not the right way to look at this. It's a bit of a different beast. It's just not that easy. So let's go ahead and let's talk about it, okay? Harvesting fish can absolutely be a part and play a role in responsible bass conservation when it's done selectively and with intention. Let's talk about it. Why can harvesting help a population? First off, it'll balance the fish population. In lakes or ponds that have too many small bass, growth slows dramatically, and it's harvesting smaller fish reduces competition for food, allowing the remaining bass to reach healthier sizes even faster. It also maintains a healthy age structure in the fishery. Every balanced fishery needs young, middle-aged, and mature fish. Removing a few from the middle helps prevent stunting while preserving the top-end genetics. Of course, you can improve on forage dynamics too. An overabundant small bass, or I should say overall overabundant small bass, can wipe out a forage species. So if that body of water, it's bluegill or shad or perch, it can definitely impact that and they can disappear. Harvesting smaller bass lets prey populations rebound, and that benefits the entire ecosystem. And then, of course, there's the sustainability from providing food. Keeping a few fish for the table, especially when local biologists encourage it, connects anglers to the resource and it reinforces stewardship of being an outdoorsman. So let's talk about, though there's one thing I want to throw in here that is significant. Pay attention to what your state and local representatives are saying about the fish population. So if they're not advising that you eat fish, if there is an advisory to not eat fish from this body of water, don't eat fish from that body of water. The reason is that they're contaminated. They have, could be what's called PFAS chemicals, forever chemicals, could just be high levels of heavy metals. These are things that can have long-term effects on your health. So it's not advisable to eat out of polluted waters. Now let's just talk about like general size guidelines for harvest and for release. When we're talking about largemouth, the ones that you want to keep, the ones that you want to keep are between that 10 and 14 inch window. They're called like the slot filler fish in overcrowded waters. The release ones, the ones that you want to release most of the time, or the vast majority, if not every time, is anything that's over 15 inches. Especially if it's around like that 18 inch plus mark, those are the ones for sure you want to be releasing. When it comes to smallmouth, it's a bit different. In that 12 to 15 inch is usually the window of fish that you would want to keep, and that's if those are like the primary abundant size for that system. When you're talking 16 pluses, those are the slower growing and more valuable to reproduction. You want to keep those fish in that ecosystem as long as possible. And for spots, we're talking 10 to 13 inches is advisable to keep. 15 plus are going to protect the larger, older breeders. A good rule of thumb is this. If a water body has lots of skinny 12 to 13 inch bass, harvest a few for the table. If you're catching fewer but they're heavier and healthy looking fish, release them all. It's cut and dry, very easy to handle. And how can you know when harvesting helps? Check your state fisheries reports. Some agencies are actually going to post overcrowded or stunted lake notices to encourage harvest. This is going to vary state to state. Just look into your state's resources and see what they advise and pay attention to what's up to date. Talk to local biologists or even the bait shops. They're usually going to know which waters will need selective harvest. And then observe the fish conditions. If you're seeing fish that have a big head with a skinny body, that usually means it's an overcrowded population, and it's a good idea to harvest the smaller fish there. If you've got more full-bodied with thick fish across all the sizes, that's a good indication that it's more balanced and you want to mostly release what you're catching in that body of water. And harvesting tips for the table: keep your limit conservative. Only take the fish that you're going to eat fresh, not what you can legally keep. I hear this argument all the time. There was a post actually somebody had put up of a guy on Facebook who in his state, I forget what state it was, I want to say it was Georgia, don't come for me if I'm wrong, but he could keep up to 10 per person. And he was out fishing with a buddy and he had caught 17 and his buddy had caught 3. So he looked at that as 10 per person. He was legal to do so. These were all 17, 18 inch fish, all of them. And I mean, again, it's going to depend on that fishery, but just because you can keep 10 fish, if you're not going to consume them fresh, it's just greedy at that point. That whole fill the freezer mentality it's not always the best move, especially when we're talking fish, but I'm getting down a rabbit hole. You can also handle the fish as gently as possible because stress and injury can actually affect the quality of the meat. Use whole fish anytime it's possible. So fry, bake, use leftovers for chowder. Try and make sure you're not wasting anything. A good thing to do is to keep the skeletal structure and make fish stock. If you do that, you can even can it or freeze it and then use it for other stuff. If you want to make soups down the road, if you want to make stews, things like that. And then record your harvest if your state tracks angler creel data. This is going to help biologists in the future refine other management. As far as protecting what they call the genetic gold, the biggest bass, especially females that are over 18 or 20 inches, those are the top breeders that have the superior genetics. Those fish contribute the most eggs and the strongest offspring. Releasing them is going to help maintain trophy potential for future generations. So practice by harvesting smaller and overabundant fish. And the reason is you're going to reduce overcrowding and improve growth. Release the large, healthy fish to protect the genetics and trophy potential, which is fantastic. Follow local registration so that you can match management goals and assist those implementing those management goals. Communicate and educate others, and that helps to promote balanced conservation. And keep only what you'll eat because it prevents waste. So that's pretty much it. Joe, what's your take on this?
I'm for it. I think a lot, just like you said, I don't do it personally. It's just, I don't eat them. It's not my thing. But I think a big problem that we have for the people that harvest is they do take a lot of like the big breeders and the fish that should be staying in the water versus, just like you said, you hit on the head. It should be those smaller juvenile fish that there's just like a super abundance. Leave those big mamas in there. Let them continue to breed.
And that's the thing. I think that there's a lot of people get hung up on the whole, like, you got to catch and release everything.
Don't tell me what the fuck to do. I can legally take all these fish. Fuck off.
And they get so fired up that the conversation never goes any further than that. But in reality, I think at the end of the day, if you want to harvest fish, harvest the fish you're going to harvest, but harvest the right ones. Also, like, your boy knows a thing or two about being in the kitchen. I don't think there's anybody that can argue with me about that. With that said, those smaller fish taste better. The big fish, maybe that meat's going to go a little bit further to feed more people. I get that. And if you're talking about a situation where like you've got to eat, you're marooned in like, the forest and lost and you need to eat or something like that, I get that. It's going to be a different situation. But when you're comfortably living in society, the idea of taking a few fish is not the worst thing ever. And, get creative about it. You don't have to fillet every fish. A boneless fillet is nice, but dude, have you ever had a whole fish? Never? Oh man.
No.
It's a whole other experience. Like it's a whole other experience. Like, can it be a little bit, I guess tedious? The process of making them is a little bit weird for some people. Sure. But like whole fish, there's so much more flavor when you cook that fish with the bones in it. Like, it's crazy. Pat comments and he chimes in. He goes, this is why Rhode Island needs a bass program. I know a lot of bodies of water in my area that could use an encouraged culling, but without putting some good bass back in, what good will it really do? I mean, that's where it gets down to like angler responsibility. You got to take some out. And you actually, Joe, you make a good point. You're like, well, if I'm not going to eat them, what am I going to do? I totally get that. Because like, also like, then that means like there is nothing worse than when people are like, I had this situation. Let me back up a little bit and explain. I recently had an appointment with a nutritionist, but Bobby Roast Beef is going through some shit. He is. I had a conversation. I had an appointment with a nutritionist and we were talking. And when they found out that I was into fishing, it wasn't hard to figure out because of the clothing I was wearing when I went there. They were like, oh, so how much fish do you actually consume? Like, do you keep a lot of what you catch? And I was like, especially not around here because so many of the bodies of water are polluted. And I was like, for the most part, the stuff that I generally keep is what's stocked. But I'm like, every once in a while, if I catch a fish that's like an eater size and it like is hooked really deep and it's not going to make it, I'm like, yeah, I'll keep one and then whatever, and go ahead and use it for table fare, which is fine. But I'm like, we had a conversation about mercury, specifically mercury, not even PFAS, not even, PCBs, anything like that, but just specifically mercury alone. The amount of mercury in the largest predatory fish in a body of water is excruciatingly high. And I asked her, I was like, I'm just curious. I go, because I've got a theory. I feel like I've talked to people enough doing this who do eat every fish they catch. And you can tell, because their brains don't seem to function the way like they maybe did years prior. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like something's a bit off. And she's like, oh, 100%. It has a major impact on brain development and usage. And she's like, people just, they write it off. And you get these heavy metals in these bodies of water. And then the smaller fish are eaten by the bigger fish, and that just, it multiplies what they're taking in. So, those big fish they're trophies. You know what I mean? Like, show them off, get that picture, release them, awesome. But when you catch a couple of small ones, yeah, go ahead and keep those sons of bitches. It's like, then you're good to go. Pat says, I prefer the term culling. It's not about eating. It's more about making a healthy fishery. And that's the thing, Pat, you make a really good point. It isn't necessarily about eating. That's, I think, the best way to ensure that nothing goes to waste. However, if you catch a species, then you need to cull them. Even if you were to release it back into the water, something's going to eat that thing if it's not living. You know what I mean? A catfish, something else. So even if you put it back into the system, and I know I'm saying this, and I know this is not the popular method, but I'm like, realistically, like, if you had the data to do this, and actually I want to comment on something else Pat had mentioned. I think that you would see people maybe take away the stigma of like, hey, this is, all these fish are, in a way, you're sort of sacrificing some of those smaller stunted fish for the betterment of the overall population. This is why if you do deep hook a fish and you release it, that fish is probably going to die. Something's going to consume it. It's going to go back into the resource one way or the other. But he did mention about Rhode Island needing a bass program. I think part of the reason why we don't see that stuff, especially in some of our states up here in the Northeast, is that bass they're an invasive species. They're not a native species to a lot of the states, like in our area. And I'm saying Massachusetts and in Rhode Island. So like a lot of the times, like because of that, you're not going to see the same care taken as if you went to a species where they are native, like, Louisiana. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but some of the other, because I think there's 20 or 22 states where bass are technically native around the Great Lakes too. There's some that they say are native up in that area, but it's just kind of crazy. Todd goes, 15 to 24 inch walleyes are considered eaters. Toss the big ones back. Dude, the 24-inch walleye is huge. I don't know how big they actually get, but yeah, I've heard that's the slot, 15 to 24. Bass also taste better in the winter, but are illegal to keep, which is crazy. I agree. Cold fish taste better every time. It's just the way it works. There's just something about them. And bleed your fish, guys. Cut the gills and bleed them out. They will taste infinitely better. Infinitely better. I think that kind of goes part of that, like stress and injury and all that stuff. You get it over quick, and then boom, it will taste so much better. You get that all out of them. I think that about does it for Just a Tip. You guys have been on your best behavior. No FTGs at all. In fact, I mean, even dealing with all the wreck boats, like after the morning I had that day, I didn't have it in my heart to call it an FTG. Just didn't have it. There were wreck boats, but they were just wreck boating. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's go ahead, take a short break. We have a couple calls in the live well. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. More Jigs and Bigs coming up after this.
Hi there. Welcome to the Live Well, where we crack open a ramp beer and attempt to answer all of your burning questions.
Yeah. It is. It's the Live Well, y'all, and we got some stuff to talk about in the Live Well today. We have two calls that come in. One of them just came in as we were recording the first segment of the show, and I'm glad I was able to squeeze it in because that is awesome. It means I don't have to allow anything to sit on the back burner until next week. But we got a good one for you, and I want to do a little thank you after we're done with these Live Well calls. But let's go ahead and we'll hear from Eli, of course, with our first question in the Live Well.
Hey, it's Eli. Question for Live Well. This is kind of a two-part question. When has there been a time where you have seen that your boat position in terms of like you're casting at the same piece of structure, but depending on where you're casting at from, either you are missing fish or you're not getting fish, not getting bites at all, and then as soon as you switch your boat position, it immediately turns on. Has there been times where you've seen that before? Because I've heard about that a lot in terms of different casting angles that will help activate fish depending on different times. Also, have you ever seen your body position ever affect if you catch a fish or you miss a fish on a hook set or something like that. So, yeah, have a great day. Bye.
Huh. That's an interesting one regarding boat position. I think in my mind, Joe, I think the first thing that comes to mind is river fishing. Having that bait be presented going upstream or downstream definitely, I think, can play a role. I haven't really had this be something that I've noticed yet, primarily because I have only had electronics on the boat for a couple of weeks. And so I haven't had the verification that there are fish right in that area necessarily, that maybe I'm missing or something. But what about you?
Yeah, so when it comes to fishing different types of structure and hitting it at different angles and getting bites versus not getting bites, I've seen it. It happens. A lot of it has to do with maybe a fish is tight to some kind of structure and doesn't want to come off it necessarily. So obviously, if you're fishing at them and then pulling the bait away, they might not go out to
they're not going to
chase, and they're there for more of a reaction. So you might have to change your angle on that structure to be able to and you're not seeing this. That's why, if I see a down log, some kind of structure on the shore or whatever, I hit it from all kinds of angles, because number one, a fish might be on one side and not the other, and it's not and you're only going to get a reaction strike. So if you're 3 feet away running that bait bite, it's not going to shoot out and grab. So so that is definitely something that is a factor. I've seen it. I deal with it. That's why I see a ton of people who will just throw one, maybe two casts at a certain piece of structure, whereas like I'll spot lock it and I'll throw 10 at it, try to make sure I'm hitting it from every angle I possibly can. When it comes to body position, no, I don't. I don't have like a preference or whatever. I mean, obviously, if I have someone else on the front deck with me, I try to not, set the hook into their face. But other than that,
as you were explaining that, I just thought of an example where that positioning the boat does come into play. And it was just this weekend, and I've seen it. I also implemented this when I was fishing at Winnipesaukee, and then at that pond that I really like in New Hampshire as well, when I'm fishing like rock piles or big boulders. Oftentimes what I'll do is I'll approach them from a couple of different angles. And one instance, there was this one time where I was fishing really unique sort of cover, and there were these floating structures on the water in front of some homes. And it was around rocky areas. So I was fishing things like tubes, like the juvie craw, and I was fishing like finesse jigs and Neds. And in this one instance, I think I talked about it on the show before, where I would make a cast and let out like an excessive amount of line and then reposition the boat so I could drag that bait right under the center of that. And that's where I was getting the hookups, because they were really under this. And by just like casting off to the sides around it, I wasn't able to get that bite. And a couple of the fish that I caught this last weekend, this one area, so I'm going to blow this spot up, but it's public and people fish the shit out of it. But the French King Bridge, right, Joe? Yeah. So, like as you're going like north up the river, before you go under the bridge, that bend, there's like a small inlet that comes in on the east side of the bank. There's some rocks that are there that are absolutely enormous. Like when I say boulders, like cartoony boulders, they're enormous. And there's some piles off to the sides and stuff. And a number of these fish would only really bite when I was making casts upriver and working with the current on a specific side. And if I drifted too much or put myself in the other area, they would just stop. Like it was just seeing that. So yeah, I could definitely see that. As far as body position, that's a tough one to answer, because I feel like there's a couple of things going on. Like you have I'm just hanging out, like fucking bullshitting with friends or something, like on the boat, and I get a bite and I maybe miss something because I'm not paying attention. Yeah, I think that's the only time like really body position, because I think of it more as distraction versus position, but like it really, at the end of the day, I think that you're not dialed to that one, you're not able to react because you're completely in another space talking about whatever. Although I will say I've also had times go where I've gotten the best fish of the day on something like that, because maybe I was a little bit slower with my retrieve, and that bait sank and sat for a minute before I started moving it, and that was enough to get bit. So I can't speak to if it's good or bad. I guess it's more challenging than anything else, because then you have to kind of make up for the fact that you weren't paying attention and reel down and, set that hook or something, and you risk the potential of losing it. But I don't know. I hope that answers your question, Eli. For this one here, we got Dave, the old wolf of Walmart. Let's see what Dave's got to say today.
Bobby, Joe, Dave here. I kind of have a weird scenario question. I went fishing with my buddy yesterday, and we were gonna chase spotted bass. Sorry, I'm not wearing my seatbelt. We were gonna chase spotted bass, and I was like, yes! I had all the fall baits ready. I'm going in, I got all my spooks and everything. I'm stoked. I'm going to go chase these fish. And it's a smaller lake, so I knew we were going to get just chewed up. We get out there, at about hour 3, I realized that the only thing they're going to eat is a pink Nico-weighted worm. And if you had told me that I was going to be out there kayak fishing all day, dragging a worm on a drift, just picking them up when I can, I probably would have chose a different way to do it, or a different place to go. So my question to you is, have you ever been fishing and realized the pattern was not the pattern you were assuming, but then were disappointed about it? Or am I just completely self-absorbed? All right. Have a nice day.
Every single time I go fishing.
It happens all the time.
Every single time I go fishing. I don't even know, a lot of the time, I will want to, this is something I think that when I first started fishing, I fell into much more often. And because I didn't really necessarily have confidence baits, you know what I mean? And I would go and I would have a bait or a presentation in hand. Maybe it was something I was looking at, spinner baits. This is something that I dealt with all the time, because I was I'm not catching fish on spinner baits. I want to learn more about them. And I would dive into as much information as I could get regarding how to fish spinner baits, when to fish spinner baits, all this other stuff. And to the point where I would be fishing with Paul, who loves fishing spinnerbaits, or one of his probably earliest confidence baits, and he would be catching them, and I'm like, "What the fuck am I doing wrong? What is going on here?"
Sure.
And in the end, it would be he caught 1, but when I switched to something like a Ned, I would catch 30. You know what I mean? Where it was I was okay. And that's when you start to learn what the pattern is. And a lot of that comes down to the specific body of water and the conditions that you're experiencing right there. That is a major player. So reading the conditions and thinking oh, it's fall fishing, they're going to eat this, they're going to eat bait fish presentations, they're going to eat such and such. It's we got leaves changing all over the place up here.
Yeah.
I was catching them on a worm, a craw, and a small bait fish. It's not really necessarily something that you can plan for. The one thing that all of those baits had in common, color and size and action, because it was very subtle. One was a flatworm, one was a juvie crawl with 0 action. Those craws just stick straight out. I only caught 2 on that. I caught the majority on the flatworm, and I caught another 3 or 4 on a finesse swim bait. But this was a tiny finesse swim bait, 3-inch, and it was the most of the bites were when it was falling or just after it hit the bottom. As I would just reel up, they would go and grab it. It was just like that. But the action that swim bait has is the most action of any of those, and even then, it's still much more subtle than something with rattles or a blade or something like that they just wouldn't hit. So it happens. Yeah, I think all the time. You're not losing your mind. No. You're not losing your mind. It's just the way it is. And that's, I think when it comes down to, it's like, you got to be adaptable. Like if the goal is to catch fish, like if you're in a tournament, dude, you've got to be adaptable. You've got to let them tell you what they want and then make it work. I was hoping, in these last 2 tournaments to be able to go and get them on moving baits, find them, and they'd be, they're going to be chewing. And it was, for the most part, really, really slow presentations because the conditions kind of dictated that. On the flip side of that, if you're not in a tournament situation and you're out specifically to either learn a presentation, don't let that one go. Because if the goal isn't to like catch fish or lose money, then by all means, throw the stuff that you want to throw for sure, and maybe be adaptable in that niche. So maybe downsize. If you're throwing something with blades, make it a little bit more subtle. Make sure that you're throwing something with willow blades or something with a single willow or, something downsized that's got that single willow or something along those lines. I don't know. What about you, Joe? What do you think?
It's happened more times than I can count where it's, I'll be like, all right, here's what it's going to be today. And I'll get those rods out on the deck. And then next thing you know, I'm swearing at myself because I'm pulling other shit out of the rod locker that I didn't think was going to be a factor, that day. You never know. Sorry.
It's all good. He's just talking.
You never know until you're out in the water and you start throwing, dude.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's 100% the way it is. It's just, it's the nature of the beast. Todd chimes in here and he says, walking upriver yesterday, crayfish were everywhere. A 3-inch craw and an EWG Ned barely moving across the rocks was the ticket. And that's a really good observation. Like, pay attention to like what you can see. Sometimes that's the most challenging part. Sometimes you don't get the luxury of seeing the forage. So you're not 100% sure, what they're dialed in on. But like when you've got that opportunity, if you can try to mimic it as best as possible. And it's interesting too, because lots of times people will throw baits and not realize that they don't have to match something exactly, dial it in close enough and you'd be a little bit surprised, I think. But
right.
Yeah, Dave, You're not crazy. You're not crazy at all, man. Not one bit. So I am going to, I think that about does it for this week's show.
So.
What an amazing show. It's probably going to be one of the shortest ones in a while. But before we wrap up, guys, I do want to give first off, a shout out and a big congratulations and thank you to all of you that have chimed in on Spotify in the comments. I asked, what was it, last week? During last week's episode, everybody just comment, fuck cancer. And we've got a good handful of you that did. I appreciate that. I spoke to Paul yesterday. He's awaiting results from his biopsy, which I guess the biopsy went well. He's not doing great. He's having a rough go of it. So he has an appointment coming up on Wednesday. Hopefully he gets some sort of form of treatment. There is talk of some type of a trial of a new medication or something that they're considering having him go under. But of course, a lot of this stuff has to do with insurance and stuff and who's going to cover it. So fingers crossed it all goes well. But I appreciate you guys for the positive vibes in the comments and stuff. Feel free to keep the comments going too in Spotify. Like, that's a great way to engage with the show directly where you're listening to it, because Spotify is, while it hasn't taken over as the majority platform, recently it is. Like if I look back at the last 6 months, our growth on Spotify is ridiculous. I think we've quadrupled the number of followers that we had like 2 years ago on Spotify. Quadruple. Like it's crazy. So I appreciate that. You guys keep it going and that is absolutely awesome. Also, jigsandbigs.com. If you guys are looking to get your merch, anything like that, if you are looking, we have lots of items that are still available, whether you want to represent little Jigs and Bigs on your vehicle or your boat or your tackle box or whatever with some stickers. We got magnetic stickers as well. Those are awesome. And of course, we've got logo apparel, t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, hats of all varieties, all kinds of good stuff for you guys to check out. Go ahead and check that out. And information coming very soon regarding the October slot limit series. That'll be the last one for the year. We have a major shakeup coming up to the Jigs and Bigs tournament series that involves a new tournament director. That's a big one. So we will see you guys. I'm going to have great stuff for you. Actually, Joe, we got to figure out when we're going to record next week's show. Do you want to try and do it Monday morning after St. Lawrence, or do you want to record while I'm up at St. Lawrence?
We can do it. We can do it Monday morning. Just worry about fishing when you're there. Yeah,
I'm stoked. It's gonna be fucking good. It's gonna be fucking real good. Yeah. And I took Sunday off, so we're gonna have all day on Sunday now. And I'm like, if I drive back in the middle of the night, that's perfect because I don't have anything to do except do trivia the next day and record this fine program for you guys in the morning. So it'll be freaking awesome. You guys have a great week. Take good care and tag us in your fishing picks. If the fall feedback is on where you are, let us know. We want to know for sure. And yes, we will have some certified stud information coming to you in the coming weeks. We're working on it for you guys. We just have a lot of submissions, and we got to make it all work. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you in 7 days of more Jigs and Bigs goodness. Like we always say.
Ditch an ass, smoke some grass.